Brought to you by Pfizer.
In this video, you're going to see the future.
U.S. Treasury is higher.
Are getting some breaking news. We've got a livestock there.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thank you so much for joining me for Stay Free with Russell Brand today. We'll be streaming for the first 15 minutes with Norman Finkelstein, then we'll be exclusively available on Rumble. And remember, if you press the red button on your screen, you can become an Awakened Wonder and join these conversations when they happen live. You can get Norman Finkelstein's new book, I'll Burn That Bridge When I Get to It, Heretical Thoughts on Identity Politics, Cancel Culture and Academic Freedom at normanfinkelstein.com. Over the course of this conversation, we talk a lot about, obviously, the conflagration in the Middle East. Norman Finkelstein has extremely strong, well-researched views that some of you will no doubt vehemently oppose and others of you will be extremely interested to listen to. As I continually tell you when it comes to this conflict, I hope that we are able to form some kind of cartilage where we may make connections that could lead to peaceful solutions for all of us, which seems like a pretty extreme ambition, and nevertheless, with the divinity within us all, no lesser ambition will do. We'll be available on YouTube for about the first 15 minutes, and we can't make this content without the ongoing support of our commercial partners. So we're going to take a brief moment to pause and offer you some insight from the people that support our content. Thank you for being part of this movement. Thank you for supporting our supporters. Have you ever wondered why you are not at the very center of the universe, commanding its every move? Well, get ready for Galaxy Projector. The Galaxy Projector isn't just a light. It transforms your room into an enchanting planetarium. Seamless, colorful projections, and stars too abundant to count. Its colors, brightness, rotation, speed, and timers are all in your control. Just a tap on your phone, and voila, the dawn of time. Creation itself. With its user-friendly app, you can tweak everything to match your mood. It's customization at its best. And guess what? It's energy efficient too. Enjoy your personal galaxy without worrying about your electricity bill skyrocketing into the very cosmos you're creating in your own room. Go to www.galaxylamps.co/brand. Use my code BRAND and get 15% off for your first Galaxy Projector made among the stars. Go to galaxylamps.co/brand, use my code BRAND and get 15% off your Galaxy Projector. So let's get into the conversation. Norman, thank you very much for joining me for Stay Free with Russell Brand.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, Norman, I want to start by asking you a question that you requested we began with, the 2014 operation known as Protective Edge. Can you explain for us, our viewers that are live with us in the locals community right now, and for our Rumble stream viewers, what Operation Protective Edge was, how it's significant in the Israel-Hamas or Israel-Palestine conflict, depending on how you frame it, and why you have chosen that to be our sort of starting point for the conversation today?
In the current round of interviews that have been done on the current Israeli assault on Gaza, everything seems to start on October 7th, as if everything were fine and dandy until October 7th. And on October 7th, this gang of thugs, hooligans, and insane people burst the gates of Gaza and proceed to commit a high-scale massacre in Israel. But for those who have studied the conflict, what happened on October 7th wasn't the beginning of the story. It was really the climax of a chapter in the story. And that's climax in the chapter of the story begins really in 2006, when Israel imposed a brutal economic blockade on Gaza. The effect of that blockade was that nothing could go into Gaza and nothing could come out of Gaza. No person could go into Gaza and no person could leave Gaza without Israel's permission. Israel imposed in the course of that blockade a regime of a starvation plus diet on the people of Gaza. It literally calculated the caloric intake of the people in Gaza and then allowed food to enter Gaza at a starvation plus level. Gaza has suffered from among the worst economic economic deprivation, but in particular unemployment in Gaza. Among Gaza in general, it's about 50% of the population. Among youth, namely the people who burst the gates of Gaza, the unemployment is at a level of about 70%. About 97% of the water in Gaza is poisonous. It can't be drunk by the people. Now, if you add off all of these factors, what do you get? And I've just skimmed the surface. I haven't mentioned that half the population of Gaza comprises children. I haven't mentioned that 70% of the population of Gaza comprises refugees who were expelled from Israel in 1948 and their descendants. I haven't mentioned that Gaza is among the most densely populated places on God's earth. I haven't mentioned that for the young people who burst the gates of Gaza, most of them were born into that place in which suffered from this economic blockade since 2006. So what do we get when we put all these factors together? Well, we take your own former British Prime Minister, David Cameron, who now I understand is your foreign secretary. David Cameron described Gaza as an open-air prison. If you take Israel's senior security establishment official, he was the head of Israel's National Security Council. His name is Giora Eiland. And in March 2004, Giora Eiland described Gaza as, quote, a huge concentration camp. And so what you saw on October 7th was young men who had been born into a concentration camp and had lived for 20 years of their lives in that concentration camp. But that's only half the story. The other half of the story is Israel periodically, to quote Israel, mows the lawn in Gaza. And what is mowing the lawn? Well, mowing the lawn is these high-tech massacres that Israel launches against Gaza. And a lot of people nowadays express the opinion that if Israel is conducting such massive death and destruction in Gaza, it's because of what happened on October 7th. Well, it is true that the quantitative magnitude of the death and destruction in Gaza is at a new level. I wouldn't argue with that. No sane person would argue with that. But it's not true that the methods that Israel is employing in Gaza are new or that they suddenly emerged after October 7th. So I asked your colleagues to just print out, you have in front of you, a list taken from not a human rights report, not from the United Nations, but just random testimonies of Israeli soldiers who fought in Operation Protective Edge in 2014. Now, I want you to bear in mind that this list comprises not soldiers who are peaceniks, not soldiers who feel guilty or remorseful about their actions. On the contrary, these soldiers just randomly describe what they did in Gaza. And I want to reiterate for your listeners, this is before October 7th. This is standard operating procedure for Israelis each time they mow the lawn in Gaza. So I'm going to ask you, Russell, because by profession you're an actor, so you have a much better voice than me. Just for each testimony, I'm just going to ask you to go soldier, read one, soldier, read the next, because I think it's important for listeners to understand what drove those young men to burst the gates of Gaza, and we have to be honest, committed atrocities.
We're going to stop that conversation here because, as you can see, we're moving into territory that is difficult to discuss on a platform that is subject to some censorship. Remember, I'm aware of how hotly contested and provocative this subject is, and I would like to use this forum as an opportunity for us to find the areas where we do agree. Is there a way that we can possibly find some territory, some realm, some New Jerusalem where Christians and Jews and indeed Muslims, of course, might come together in some sort of concordance? Certainly that's my deep prayer. Join us over on Rumble by clicking the link in the description. You Awakening Wonders, we love you. The link's there right now.